YouTube, Shaken should be here with a review of the 66 Action Kamen Rider Volume 5, featuring figures 17, 18, 19, and 20, Mashin Chaser, Kamen Rider O's TaJaDol combo, Kamen Rider Ryuki, and Kamen Rider Black. Now this candy toy set was released in March 2014, 2015? 14, that's a new one. And you could get each of these for about 500 yen or so a piece. Some stores charge about 800 to 1,000 yen a piece. So it depends on where you pick them up. Or, I know HLJ and AmiAmi both sell these in box sets of 10. And then you just kind of sell the rest or have extras to customize or whatever you want to do. But the box method is how I usually pick these up. And it's a great little lineup here, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what we got. And Ryuki is definitely the most interesting of the bunch. So let's go ahead and start with Chaser, work our way to Black, and take a look at these guys. So after the last set giving us a pretty crappy stand design, and then the Dragon Ball Kai set giving us an even odder sort of stand design that ultimately worked for the Dragon Ball line, but we have an entirely new stand design for the 5th series of Kamen Rider, and I don't know what to make of it. They improved a lot. They have all 4 hand slots on the actual base of the toy, which is what I wanted in the first place, so that is great. Thumbs up to that, Bandai Candy Toy Division. However, the stand that they gave us in return, this L-shaped stand, doesn't give you the same level of movement that the old one did. So whereas the old one was a little bit shorter on this axis, I've got one of the Ultraman ones that use the same design here to compare. These ones helped with the standing motion, absolutely. These ones, however, don't. They're too high, so when you go ahead and use them, you have to have them in sort of a jumpy pose, or they're just floating there. Up to you how you decide you want to pose them. But that's a little bit of a mishandle to me, since the stands to me are most helpful when they help in actually making the figure stand. You can kind of get it to work, but they're in a weird pose and then they fall forward. So it's a little bit of a stand flaw still, but they got the thing down with having all the hand slots on the actual base and not the stand of the stand. So we're in the right direction, and I do overall like these more than the original ones that debuted in the 4th Kamen Rider set and the first Ultraman set, since those both came out at the same time. But ignoring the stand for now, here is Chaser. Chaser's a weird design that I really like. He's just like a mishmash of car parts, and it looks great. He basically is a walking car wreck, and that's what he represents. And they do a great job with Chaser's design. So I like this one quite a bit. They got most of the detail in the suit, so huge props to them on that. Not all of it is painted, of course, but they got all of the purple armory bits down, and the silver used, as always, as Bandai products is just really nice. I love the silver. And he's got a singular compound eye right there that they really did nail. He's even got his Grim Leaper. That's a new one, a Grim Leaper. His Grim Reaper logo on the shoulder pad here. So huge props to them on Mashin Chaser's overall design. And overall design of the figure is more or less what I'm trying to get at. They did a great little job on him. For some reason, he is kind of back heavy. I don't know if it's just the way he stands. He's kind of standing with like a weird posture, but there we go. So a nice little figure. And included with him is a pose hand and then a holding hand along with the brake gunner. No silver paint on the brake gunner, but it does look pretty nice for such a small little weapon. So of course you hardly ever really have Mashin Chaser, or Rider Chaser for that matter, without the brake gunner. So we're going to go ahead and give him the brake gunner for sure. But I think I'm going to leave the fist on the other hand, just because I don't leave the fists on these figures too often. So, and there we go. So there is our little buddy Mashin Chaser, ready to go hunt some defective roid mudes or humans, or depends on when in drive you're watching, really. But so I don't know if the lack of hands for these guys, this entire wave has that problem, is because of the new mold for the stands. So I don't know if we'll see more hands in the future for these guys now that they perfected their stands. But I'm not really sure. But he only has those 2 different hands, and then the brake gunner. Alright, next up is Kamen Rider O's TaJaDol combo, the red combo, the bird combo, whatever you want to call him. And he's pretty cool. They really nailed his visor. TaJaDol had that weird thing with the red visor covering his face, so his face was just like the slate of red, basically. But they really did nail that, and you can still see all the compound features in the eyes underneath that red visor. So they did a really good job on that. And everything in general on him just looks really, really nice. Now, included with him is obviously the stand, same red stand that comes with all these figures. And only one additional hand, a kind of a pointy finger hand. So nothing kind of weird there or anything. So that's a little bit of a shame. He does come with the TaJa spinner. Right here, it's just made out of a clear red plastic. And that's where things get a little bit weird. I'm going to mention it again with Ryuki, though it seems to work a lot better for Ryuki than it does for O's. But especially in warmer climates, this soft sort of transparent plastic, it's very, very pliable. Like I can almost bend the actual TaJa spinner. So it's really pliable, and this clip here that is supposed to kind of peg into his fist just doesn't work. It ends up becoming a lot bigger than the actual fist, and you get this happening. So that's a little bit of a bummer. All they had to do was have a peg right there, and we'll just plug it into that hole that's on his arm. All these figures have holes on their arms. So I don't know why they didn't bother doing that to peg that in place. I'm probably just going to put a dab of glue on there and do it like that, since he doesn't come with any additional hands for that slot anyway. So I'll probably just glue it in place. All right there. So you got that. One thing that you can actually do that I wanted to point out with this figure in particular is that for the most part these all share a similar joint system. O's was one of the first figures released in the 66 Action line, and if you put them right next to each other you can see that the style of the figures has definitely changed a little bit since the first set. The body got a little bit thicker and the hands got very much smaller. Compared to Tato Combo's big ol' chunky hands over here. So the mix and match capabilities here are a little bit down compared to what they could be. But you can actually make, like TaJaDol was a form that was actually used in the show at least once. So if you take him all apart, I'm just going to keep the TaJa spinner aside because it's going to fall off anyway. So if you take these parts and connect them, that's where things get a little bit different because of the way that the 2 different bodies are shaped. So this doesn't have a lot of clearance room and it will pop out kind of easy. So kind of watch it when you're doing that. And then you take the normal Taka head and put that on. And again, the heads being different, give him this kind of lunky forward shape on his head. But you can actually make TaJaDol, which is really cool. And then if you wanted to take the leftover parts, again, that works even less than putting the TaJaDol pieces on the original body. But you can make TaJaDol, I think would be what this is called. He's very wiggly. So this will be a case where you want to use like this hips. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore, but you can mix and match them. So I hope they make some more O's forms down the line. Puto Tira maybe would be fun to kind of throw into the mix. I really wish they didn't change up the designs so that this feature was actually more plausible, but oh well, what are you gonna do? It is a nice little thing that you can do with the O's combos though. And you can actually do those with any riders at all. So if you wanted to like put Mashin Chaser's head on TaJaDol's body, you can. Why not? Do it. go for it. Have fun. I promote fun here. And here is Ryuki, where things just get frickin' fun. I love the Ryuki figure. And Ryuki's not even my favorite rider design or one of my favorite shows. It's actually lower on the list for me. But this figure is just a lot of fun. For the $3 to like $8 price range you're going to pick this up at, this toy actually does quite a bit. Included is only a weapon holding hand. And the stand, obviously. So you don't get a whole lot of hands or additional weapons or anything. Or do you? Included is actually this little tiny drag rider. Which confused me at first. I was like, whoa, that's kind of a weird thing to do. But then I kind of looked at everything and started piecing it together. The drag rider here is actually a nifty little way to hold all of the weapons that are actually included with this guy. Which is really cool. So you can split apart drag rider. His head will obviously become the strike vent weapon, which will just plug right into the hand slot. His tail becomes sword vent, which is for the weapon holding hand, which we'll get to. And then you can pop these off, and these will become the guard vents for his shoulders. They're going the shoulder route for this one. So pulling back a little bit here, you take Drag Rider's dead carcass and move it aside since it's good for nothing else anymore. If you want to go ahead and use the sword vent, we'll do strike vent first. Just take the strike vent, we'll move those aside, and just place it right in the hand where the fist would go. And now you have Ryuki with, take him off the stand. You have Ryuki with the strike vent, which is definitely really cool. And again, just like the TaJaDol spinner, this doesn't plug in anywhere. Now this one doesn't really have the holes, and they kind of molded it to fit around the cap, but it doesn't actually peg in anywhere. So you're relying on friction to hold that together, which again is a little bit of a bummer, and again, I'm probably just going to glue it. But you got the, well, that's new. You got the strike vent piece. His little dragon mustache just fell off. If there's one thing I've learned about the drag rider pieces is that they don't stick together well at all, and I'll demonstrate that in a second with the guard vent. I don't even know how this was supposed to go. I will remedy that later and move on to the sword vent. So just take the tail for drag rider and that weapon holding hand. Bam. And bam. Now you have equipped Ryuki with sword vent. So now he can go slash things. But perhaps he needs to guard. Now he was able to hold these in the show. Here's what I'm talking about. The hands don't fit in these little grooves in the slots. I mean, they fit in there, but they're incredibly loose. So if you just kind of drop it and move it a little bit, it'll start kind of flailing around, and then pieces will fall out when you're trying to put them in. It's definitely a hassle for sure. But you can glue those if you want to, but you lose the swivel posability. So that's really up to you. But you just take these little guard vent pieces and plug them in to the holes on the shoulder where those little rider caps would be. And you have yourself Ryuki with the guard vent. And then he can hold the strike vent or sword vent as well, which is just really freaking cool. I love that about this figure. Unfortunately, he can't really hold the guard vent as a handheld weapon, something that he could do in the show. There's no capability for that. But just the fact that they went so far as to include this little drag rider that split apart into all the different vents in such a small scale action figure, I think is incredible. So huge props to Bandai Candy Toy for putting this figure together. I mean, you got strike vent, sword vent, guard vent, and a weapon holding hand for that, all in one figure. So while it doesn't look as impressive when you look at the hand count, once you start getting into the figure, this is definitely the most impressive 66 action to date. And then you get Black. Nothing against Black. He has a Showa design, or yeah, Showa design. The Black RX was the one that's arguative, but I included with him our two kind of henshin pose hands, so those are really cool. In fact, we're going to go ahead and give him those right off the bat, because fists are boring. Though I think he actually uses a fist in his transformation. I don't remember Black's transformation off the top of my head. But we'll give him the 2 pose hands anyway. And then, of course, you get the red stand included with all the figures. And I don't remember what his henshin pose looks like off the top of my head, but being a more simplified design, you do get a lot of articulation. Nothing is hindering him at all. And if you're a fan of Black, it's a great little figure. Detail-wise, everything except for his belt is really detailed. You even have all of the inside bits that were like the kind of insectoid-ish veins and things on the Black suit are all there, even in the legs down here at the thighs. So they did a really good job on Black. His head sculpt spot on. The compound eyes are great. Paint's pretty good too. So they did a great job on Black. Not incredibly familiar with the Showa series, but it's still a nice little representation of Kamen Rider Black. So these 66 action lines continuously outdo themselves. While I really like the last set for the variety and presentation, this set definitely blows it out of the water in terms of fun factor. Mashin Chaser is just a really fun figure to own. I love his design. TaJaDol is my favorite O's combo, and the kind of ability to combo with the Tatoba figure is definitely really nice, and I hope that is something they maybe flesh out in future O's releases in this line. Black is a wonderful little representation of that rider, so if you're a fan of any of those 3 characters, they're definitely taking a worth at. But Ryuki in general is the star of the show. I love the included drag Radder pieces to make all of the vents. And even if they included the vents by themselves, the fact that they included a little drag Radder body to plug everything onto, so you have something to display with Ryuki, was just a really nice touch that they in no means had to do, or by no means had to do. But it's a really great figure. I definitely recommend, if you like Ryuki or Dragon Knight whatsoever, to hunt down the Ryuki figure for sure, because it is a lot of fun. But this wave in general just really knocked it out of the park. Probably my favorite of the line to date. So thanks for watching, take care, and have a great one. Bye.